The glass shattered before anyone could say a word. It slipped from Cale Varelli's hand and exploded against the kitchen tiles, water spreading between his shoes like something alive. He didn't even flinch. His eyes were locked on the phone in his grip, jaw tight, chest rising too fast. Explain this. Leora Halden froze halfway through setting the table, her fingers still curled around a fork. The tone in his voice wasn't just anger. It was controlled, like he was holding something back that might destroy everything if it slipped. What are you talking about? Cale stepped closer, turning the screen toward her. A message thread. Her name at the top. Words underneath she had never written. Last night was worth it. Same time tomorrow. Her stomach dropped so fast she had to grab the edge of the table to steady herself. I didn't send that. Don't, he cut in, voice low. Just, don't lie to me right now. I'm not lying. Her voice trembled despite her effort to stay calm. Cale. I don't even know who that number is. He let out a short, hollow laugh. That's interesting. Because whoever it is seems to know you very well. Another swipe. Another message. You looked nervous today. It was kind of cute. Her pulse began to pound in her ears. This isn't real. Someone is setting you up, he snapped. Is that what you're going with? Yes. The word came out sharper than she expected. Because I swear to you, I've never seen those messages before. Cale stared at her, searching her face like he was trying to find something, truth, maybe, or confirmation of a lie. Then he pulled up a photo. It was her. Standing outside a cafe, leaning slightly toward a man she didn't recognize. The angle made it look close. Too close. Like something it wasn't. Her breath caught. I don't even remember this. You don't remember meeting him? Cale asked quietly. Or you don't remember getting caught? I wasn't. Cale, listen to me. She stepped closer, desperation creeping into her voice. That day, I went to get coffee. There was this guy who asked for directions. That's all. That's all it was. And you just forgot. His brows lifted, disbelief written all over his face. I didn't think it mattered, she said, shaking her head. Because it didn't mean anything. It clearly meant something to him. Cale held up the phone again. And according to this, it meant something to you too. She swallowed hard, tears blurring her vision. No. No, it didn't. You have to believe me. For a second, just 1 second, his expression softened. Doubt flickered. Then it disappeared. I don't know what to believe anymore, he said. The words landed heavier than any accusation. And just like that, something between them cracked. If you're watching this and you haven't already, take a second to subscribe to Elite TV and like this video. Stories like this only get more intense from here, and you don't want to miss what happens next. Leora had always known Cale's mother didn't like her. From the very first dinner, where Celine Varelli had smiled just a little too politely and asked questions that sounded harmless but never felt that way. So, Leora, Celine had said, folding her hands neatly, what exactly is it that you do again? I'm a project coordinator, Leora replied, trying to sound confident. I manage. Ah. Celine nodded, cutting her off gently. A support role. That must be flexible. It wasn't the words. It was the way she said them. Cale hadn't noticed. Or maybe he had and chose not to. She's just protective, he told Leora later that night. You'll get used to her. But Leora never did. Because it didn't stop. It was the way Celine showed up unannounced, walking into their home like she owned it. Rearranging things in the kitchen with a tight smile. Oh, I just thought this would make more sense, she'd say, even when no one asked. It was the small corrections. The sauce is a bit too salty. Don't you think, she'd remark casually. Or the way she'd pull Cale aside, whispering just low enough that Leora couldn't hear, but could feel. Every time, Cale came back different. Distracted. Distant. Leora told herself she was overthinking it. Told herself it wasn't a big deal. But now, standing in the kitchen with her husband looking at her like she was someone he didn't recognize, all those moments came rushing back. I think you should stay somewhere else tonight, Cale said suddenly. The words hit her like a slap. What? Just for a few days, he added quickly. Until we figure this out. Figure what out? Her voice rose, panic breaking through. There's nothing to figure out because I didn't do anything. I need space, Leora. His tone hardened. I can't think clearly right now. All of what? She demanded, tears spilling freely now. Fake messages. A random photo. That's enough for you to just, what, throw everything away. I'm not throwing anything away, he said, but there was hesitation in his voice. I'm trying to understand what's going on. Then start by trusting me, she whispered. Silence filled the room. Heavy. Unforgiving. I wish I could, Cale said quietly. And that broke something inside her. Leora didn't sleep that night. She sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling through her phone again and again, searching for something, anything, that could explain what was happening. But there was nothing. No messages. No calls. No unknown numbers. It didn't make sense. Her mind replayed the last few weeks. At first, it was just one message. Hi. She ignored it. Then another. You seem interesting. She blocked the number. But it kept happening. Different numbers. Same tone. She had mentioned it to Cale once. Some random guy keeps texting me, she said casually. I think he got the wrong number. Cale barely looked up. Just block him. I did. He keeps using new ones. Then ignore it. And she had. Because it didn't seem important. Now it felt like the beginning of something much bigger. Something planned. Her chest tightened. No. That didn't make sense. Who would go through all that trouble? And why? Her thoughts flickered to Celine. Just for a second. And then she pushed it away. That was ridiculous. Right. A knock echoed from the front door. Leora froze. It was late. Too late for visitors. Cale, she called softly. No answer. The knock came again. Slower this time. Heavier. Her heart began to race as she walked toward the door. She opened it. And froze. The man from the photo stood there. Up close, he looked different. Real. Taller. Calmer than he should be. Leora, he said, like he knew her. Her pulse spiked. Who are you? He smiled slightly. You don't remember me. No, she said immediately. And you shouldn't be here. I think we need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. Her voice shook. You've already caused enough damage. Damage, he repeated. You know exactly what I mean. The messages. The photo. Whatever you think you're doing. Game, he interrupted, confused. Something in his expression shifted. Not guilt. Confusion. Real confusion. Leora's breath caught. What are you talking about? He asked quietly. You sent those messages, she said, but her voice was no longer steady. No, he said simply. Silence. If you didn't, she whispered, then who did? He looked past her, then back at her. You might want to ask someone closer to home. A chill ran down her spine. What does that mean? He hesitated. I wasn't supposed to come here, he admitted. This wasn't part of it. Part of what? He exhaled slowly. I think someone's been using both of us. And in that moment, everything shifted. Because suddenly, nothing felt random anymore. The messages. The photo. The timing. It all felt designed. And for the first time, a terrifying realization settled in. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a setup. And whoever was behind it knew exactly what they were doing. Leora didn't realize she had stopped breathing until her chest tightened. Using us, she repeated slowly. The man nodded, though uncertainty still lingered in his expression, like he was stepping into something he hadn't planned for. My name is Darian Cross, he said. And before you ask, I didn't send those messages. Then how do you even know about them? Leora shot back, her voice sharp, defensive, but underneath it was fear. Darian hesitated. Because I was hired to make it look like I did. The words landed heavy. Leora blinked. Hired, by who? He looked at her for a long second, like he was trying to decide how much to say. I didn't know your name at first, he admitted. I was just told there was a woman. Married. That I needed to create interactions with her. Her stomach twisted. Create interactions. Messages. Encounters. Coincidences that wouldn't feel like coincidences. He ran a hand over the back of his neck. I was paid to approach you that day at the cafe. Ask for directions. Keep it short. Make it look natural. Her head began to spin. That's insane, she whispered. I thought so too, Darian said quietly. But the money was good. And I didn't ask questions I probably should have. And the messages? Leora pressed. If you didn't send them. I didn't need to, he interrupted. I was told everything would be handled. That all I had to do was show up when instructed. A cold, sinking feeling spread through her chest. Someone had planned this. Every detail. Every step. And the photo, she asked, her voice barely steady. Darian nodded. Also planned. I was told where to stand. When to approach you. Someone else took the picture. Leora stepped back, her hand covering her mouth. This wasn't random. This wasn't coincidence. This was deliberate. Careful. Cruel. Why are you telling me this now? She asked, her voice trembling. Because this wasn't supposed to go this far, Darian said. I was told it was just to create tension. Maybe an argument. I didn't know it would, he gestured vaguely toward the house. Turn into this. Leora let out a shaky breath. Her mind raced, trying to piece everything together. Who hired you? She asked again, more firmly this time. Darian hesitated. Then he said, I never met them in person. Her heart sank. But, he added, I do have something. Hope flickered. What? He pulled out his phone, scrolling quickly before turning the screen toward her. A series of transactions. Payments. Regular. Consistent. All from the same source. Leora leaned in, her eyes scanning the details. Then she saw it. A name attached to one of the transfers. Not fully spelled out. But enough. Her breath caught. No, she whispered. Darian watched her closely. You recognize it. Leora didn't answer. Because she did. And she didn't want to believe it. Leora. She stepped back, shaking her head. I need to think. Look, Darien said, his tone softer now. I didn't come here to make things worse. When I realized what was happening, I couldn't just stay quiet. Her chest tightened. Do you have proof? She asked suddenly. What kind of proof? Something that shows you were hired. Something that connects, whoever this is, to all of this. Darien frowned slightly. Messages, yes. Instructions. Payment confirmations. That's not enough, she said quickly. It needs to be undeniable. Why? Because my husband doesn't believe me, she said, her voice breaking. And if I go to him with anything less than solid proof, it won't change anything. Darien studied her for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. All right, he said. Then we get something stronger. Leora swallowed hard. Because for the first time since everything fell apart, she wasn't completely alone. The next morning felt unreal. Cale barely looked at her. He moved around the house like she wasn't there, like she was already gone. Cale, she said quietly, standing in the doorway. He paused, but didn't turn around. What? We need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. There is, she insisted. Please. He exhaled sharply, then turned to face her. If this is about last night. It is, she cut in. But not in the way you think. He crossed his arms. Then explain it. I'm trying to, she said, frustration creeping in. But you have to actually listen. I listened yesterday, he said. And all I heard were excuses. They weren't excuses, she said, her voice rising. They were the truth. Then why does the evidence say otherwise? He shot back. Because the evidence is fake. Convenient. Leora stared at him, hurt flashing across her face. You really think I'd do that to you? I don't know what to think anymore, he said quietly. That again. That distance. That doubt. It hurt more than anger ever could. I met him, she said suddenly. Cale's expression changed. What? The man in the photo, she continued. He came here last night. Cale's jaw tightened. You let him into our house? I didn't invite him, she snapped. He showed up. And he told me everything. And you expect me to believe that? Cale laughed bitterly. Of course he'd have a story. It's not a story, she said. He was hired. Silence. Cale's eyes narrowed. Hired, to do what? To make it look like I was cheating. He stared at her. Then shook his head. No. Yes. No, he repeated, firmer this time. That doesn't make any sense. It does when you hear everything, she insisted. Or when you're trying to cover something up, he said. The words hit like a slap. I'm not covering anything up, she cried. Why won't you just listen to me? Because nothing you're saying adds up, he fired back. A random man shows up, claims he was hired to fake an affair, and you just, believe him. I don't have a reason not to, she said. And neither do you. I have every reason not to, he said coldly, holding up his phone again. This is reason enough. Leora's chest tightened. We can prove it, she said suddenly. Cale paused. What? We can prove it, she repeated. If you just give me a chance. He hesitated. Just for a second. Then his expression hardened again. I'm done chasing explanations, he said. I need facts. Then let me get them, she pleaded. He didn't respond. And that silence said everything. By afternoon, Cale was gone. No explanation. No goodbye. Just gone. Leora stood in the empty house, the weight of everything pressing down on her. This was it. This was exactly what whoever planned this wanted. Separation. Doubt. Distance. Her hands clenched into fists. No. She wasn't going to let this end like this. Not without fighting back. Her phone buzzed. A message from Darien. Did you talk to him? She stared at the screen for a moment before replying. He doesn't believe me. A pause. Then another message. Then we make him believe. Leora exhaled slowly. How? Her phone rang almost immediately. She answered. I've been thinking, Darien said. There's one way to make this undeniable. Which is, she asked. We get the person who hired me to admit it. Leora's heart skipped. And how exactly do we do that? Darien's voice lowered slightly. We give them what they want. Her stomach tightened. What does that mean? It means we act like the plan is working, he said. Like your marriage is falling apart. It is falling apart, she said quietly. Then we use that, he replied. We draw them out. Make them comfortable enough to slip. Leora hesitated. This was risky. Dangerous, even. But what choice did she have? Okay, she said finally. What do we do? Darien didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice carried something new. Certainty. We set a trap. And for the first time. Since everything began. Leora felt something shift inside her. Not fear. Not confusion. Something stronger. Resolve. Because whoever had done this had made one mistake. They thought she wouldn't fight back. The plan didn't feel real at first. Leora stood in the middle of the living room, staring at her reflection in the dark screen of the television, barely recognizing the woman looking back at her. Her eyes were tired. Not just from lack of sleep, but from everything that had been taken from her in such a short time. You're sure about this? She asked quietly. Darien leaned against the wall, arms folded. No, he admitted. But I'm sure it's the only way. Leora let out a breath that felt heavier than it should have. If this goes wrong. It won't, he said, but there was a pause before it. We just have to be careful. Careful. That word didn't feel strong enough for what they were about to do. Walk me through it again, she said. Darien nodded. We make it look like everything is falling apart. You and Cale. No fixing it. No coming back. Her chest tightened at his name, but she nodded. I reach out, Darien continued. Let them think I'm still doing what I was paid for. That things are progressing. And that's supposed to make them slip? Leora asked. It makes them confident, he said. People make mistakes when they think they've already won. Leora swallowed. And when they do. Darien met her eyes. We get the proof. That night, Leora did something that made her hands shake. She called Cale. He didn't pick up the first time. Or the second. On the third call, the line finally connected. What? His voice was distant. Tired. Like he didn't want to be having this conversation. I think we should stop pretending, she said, forcing the words out. Silence. What do you mean? I mean, maybe this is it, she said, her voice cracking just enough to sound real, because part of it was. Maybe we've been trying to hold on to something that's already broken. Another silence. Longer this time. So that's it? Cale asked finally. You're just giving up? Leora closed her eyes. I don't see what else we can do. You could tell me the truth, he said sharply. I have, she whispered. You just don't believe me. That's because nothing makes sense. Exactly, she said. Nothing makes sense anymore. Her grip tightened on the phone. I'm tired, Cale, she added softly. I don't want to keep fighting you. The words hung between them. Heavy. Final. Fine, he said after a moment. If that's what you want. Leora felt something crack inside her chest. But she forced herself to stay silent. Because this wasn't just a conversation. It was bait. And somewhere, someone was listening, if not directly, then through the outcome. When the call ended, her hands dropped to her sides. You okay? Darien asked quietly. Leora nodded, even though it wasn't true. Yeah. But her voice betrayed her. The next step came faster than she expected. The following afternoon, Darien received a message. Short. Direct. You've done well. Let's meet. He showed Leora the screen. Her pulse spiked. This is it. Darien nodded. This is it. Where? He read the message again. Private address. Sent just now. Leora leaned closer, her breath catching. Because she recognized it. Of course she did. It wasn't just any address. It was Celine Varelli's house. For a moment, the world felt like it tilted. No, Leora whispered, even though deep down, she already knew. Darien looked at her. You know this place. She nodded slowly. That's my mother-in-law's house. The silence that followed was heavy, but not surprising. Because the truth had been there all along. Hidden in plain sight. I'm sorry, Darien said quietly. Leora shook her head. Don't be, she replied. Just, let's finish this. That evening, everything came together. Leora stood outside Celine's house, her heart pounding so loudly it felt like it might give her away before she even stepped inside. You don't have to go in, Darien said. I can handle it. No, she said firmly. She needs to see me. He studied her for a second, then nodded. All right. But stay behind me at first. Leora didn't argue. They walked up to the door together. Darien knocked. A few seconds later, it opened. Celine Varelli stood there, composed as always, her expression calm, until her eyes landed on Leora. For the first time, that calm cracked. Leora, she said, surprised. What are you doing here? Darien stepped forward slightly. We need to talk. Celine's gaze shifted to him, then back to Leora. Something flickered in her eyes. Not confusion. Recognition. Then she smiled. Slow. Controlled. I see, she said softly. Things escalated faster than I expected. Leora felt her chest tighten. You're not even going to deny it, she asked, her voice shaking. Celine tilted her head slightly. Deny what? That you set this up, Leora said. The messages. The photos. Him. Celine let out a small laugh. Oh, Leora, she said, stepping aside. If you're going to accuse me of something so serious, you should at least come inside. Darien and Leora exchanged a glance. Then they stepped in. The door closed behind them with a soft click that sounded louder than it should have. Celine walked into the living room, completely at ease. You really should have seen this coming, she said, turning to face Leora. I told you from the beginning, you weren't right for my son. You don't get to decide that, Leora snapped. I already did, Celine replied calmly. The confidence in her voice was chilling. Darien subtly adjusted his phone in his pocket. Recording. You hired him, Leora said, forcing herself to stay focused. You paid him to follow me. To message me. To make it look like I was cheating. Celine smiled faintly. And if I did? The room went still. Leora's heart pounded harder. Why? She asked. Celine's expression didn't change. Because you were never going to leave on your own, she said simply. And Cale would never have chosen to walk away, unless he believed he had no other choice. Leora stared at her. You tried to destroy our marriage, she whispered. Celine's gaze hardened slightly. I corrected a mistake. By lying. Leora's voice rose. By manipulating everything. By doing what was necessary, Celine replied, her tone sharp now. You think love is enough? It isn't. Compatibility matters. Status matters. Family matters. And I don't. Leora asked, hurt breaking through. Celine didn't hesitate. No. The word hit like a final blow. But none of that matters now, Celine continued smoothly. Because it worked. No, Leora said, her voice steadier now. It didn't. Celine raised a brow. Leora reached forward and pulled Darian's phone from his pocket, pressing a button. Celine's own voice filled the room. Clear. Undeniable. Confessing everything. For the first time. Celine's composure shattered. What is this? She demanded. Proof, Leora said. And then. A voice came from behind them. I heard enough. They all turned. Cale stood in the doorway. His face pale. His eyes locked on his mother. Silence fell. Heavy. Unavoidable. Cale, Celine started. But he shook his head. Don't, he said quietly. His gaze shifted to Leora. Pain. Regret. Realization. You were telling the truth, he said. Leora didn't answer. Because there was nothing left to say. Cale turned back to his mother. Why? He asked. Celine straightened slightly, trying to regain control. I did it for you, she said. No, Cale replied. You did it to control me. The words hung in the air. Final. And for once, Celine had no response. The aftermath was quieter than Leora expected. No shouting. No dramatic collapse. Just silence. Heavy with everything that had been revealed. Cale approached her slowly. I'm sorry, he said. She looked at him, really looked at him. And for the first time, she saw how much damage had been done. I know, she said softly. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. I should have believed you, he added. Yes, she said. Honest. Not angry. Just real. I don't know how to fix this, he admitted. Leora exhaled slowly. Neither do I, she said. And that was the truth. Because some things don't go back to the way they were. But at least now. The truth was clear. And the person who tried to destroy everything had finally been exposed. If you've made it this far, then you already know, some people don't just test your marriage, they try to break it completely. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Elite TV, like this video, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us, what would you have done in Leora's place? Share this story with someone who needs to see it, and don't forget to turn on your notifications so you never miss a new upload. Because stories like this, they're more real than you think.